Hey guys, Jay Sini here from the Australian Wealth Channel. This is a channel where we talk about everything finance, business, stock market, real estate, basically anything to do with making money. And I'm really excited about today's video because we are going to be talking about what to do in your 20s so that you can be wealthy in your 30s. So at this point, I'm about 28 years old, and I wouldn't say that I'm incredibly wealthy, like any kind of insane level of wealth. But there's a lot of things that I've done that have really helped to contribute to get me into a fantastic spot financially for the future. So I think a lot of these things I'd love to be able to pass on to people, and maybe there's some tips that you might be able to use for yourself. But as usual, of course, this is just entertainment. This is not investment advice for you because I do not know your specific circumstances. So it is best to talk to an actual professional instead of some guy on YouTube. So having said that, these are some things that have really worked for me and have allowed me to see my wealth grow quite dramatically in the last few years. So the first thing that I think is the most important thing that you can do in your 20s is to invest in yourself. Now, generally, most people in their 20s don't have a ton of money, and that's just the way it is. Like, you've just started out as an adult, and you might be working some lower skilled jobs, you might be studying for some higher skilled jobs. So at this point, you don't have that much money. So investing only really matters once you start to get a little bit more money. So the best thing and the best return I think that you can get at this point is to invest in yourself and develop skills that are high value skills that people are going to want to use over time. So whether that is becoming like a marketing expert or really good at copywriting, video production, photography, these are all things that people will pay really good money for because it helps them to make money. And on top of this, as you start to get a little bit older, it does become a little bit harder to learn things. So it's best to take advantage of that while you're a little bit younger and your brain is a little bit more spongy than what happens when you get a bit older. So something else that's really important to do in your 20s to be wealthy in your 30s is to smash the like button. Make sure you go ahead and subscribe to the channel. It really helps out the video and pushes it to more people. So more people can get this information and hopefully it can make their life better. So developing a high income skill is something that is really important and can lead to quite dramatic results in the future. Now, this next one is something that I think is incredibly important, and if you don't do this, then I feel like there's a great chance that you might be getting left behind in your wealth journey, and that is to save more than 10% of your income. A lot of places recommend that you save at least 10%. I think it should be way more. 10% I don't think is going to get you exactly where you want to be financially and wealthy in your 30s. If you can, 20%, 30%, even 40% is a much better amount to save every single month. For myself, I managed to save about 40% of my income. And I do that by making sure that, first of all, I have a high income, but I also cut out a lot of expenses along the way. Because there's so much stuff out there that you don't actually need, which people just get. So the more you can get rid of unnecessary expenses, the better that is going to be for your future. So once you've put this money away, then there's a couple of things you can do with it. The first thing is you can put it in a term deposit, which is incredibly low risk, and you're basically guaranteed to be getting extra money back. However, having said that, because it is incredibly low risk, there is not much return on that investment. So one of the best things that you can do is to invest in a stock market index. So whether that be the ASX 200, which tracks the top 200 companies in Australia, the S&P 500, an index which tracks the top 500 companies in America, they are quite safe investments. There is still some risk involved, but generally if you buy it and hold it for a long period of time, you're going to get a 7% return every single year, which is significantly better than what you will get at the bank. Some years the stock market will go up 20, 30%. Other years the stock market will lose value. But the important thing is to consistently put money away, at least 10%, I'd say 20 or more if you can, into your investing. So something else that's really important with this is that you need to be investing pretty much as soon as you possibly can. This is a crazy stat, but inflation is approximately 2% every single year. So what that means is over time, the value of your money, if it's just sitting there, is becoming worth less and less. A millionaire in the 1960s is not the same as a millionaire in 2020. If you managed to have $1 million in 1960, you were significantly more wealthy than what $1 million would be worth today. So this is the crazy stat. Your money is worth twice what it is at 30 at the age of 20. So in a space of 10 years, your money has approximately halved in value. So every dollar that you invest early is going to have much greater return the earlier you can do it. And that's why the 20s is such an important age for getting really financially stable and building wealth. Because the longer you leave it, the harder it gets. So if you couple this with really small costs that you get along the way, basically everything that you buy when you're 20s is worth twice as much in your 30s. Like that Starbucks that you got for $5, that was like paying $10 for it. So by not getting started early, I think you're leaving a lot of money on the table. Now, something else which I think is really valuable to do in your 20s is to start a business. As an employee of a company, your income is pretty much capped. You know, you're either on a wage or you're on salary, and you can't really earn any more than you have hours in the day. However, when you're running a business, your income is basically unlimited. If you have a scalable business, then it's very easy to continue to earn more and more money, and there's no cap. Even at 28, my business earns significantly more money than my investments do. So I think especially in your 20s, it's really important to focus on growing a business and then having investing as something that you consistently do. But your main focus should be boosting your income and getting higher income, because that's where the real gains are going to come from. So something else I think is really important to factor in is that unless you really need to go to uni, it's probably a good idea not to. Obviously, some jobs you have to go to uni. If you want to do law, if you want to be a doctor, a teacher, you know, like you have to do uni. And I totally get that. But for most fields, university is a really unnecessary expense. Because not only are you spending a lot of money to actually go to uni, but you're taking time away from when you could be working and making money. So it's something that you really need to consider and weigh up if it's actually worth going. And in some circumstances, it totally is. And in some circumstances, it doesn't make any sense at all when there's a lot of other fantastic opportunities out for education. Okay, the next one is don't become a victim of lifestyle inflation. Now, through your 20s, a lot of people start to make a little bit more money every year. And consequently, what can happen with people is they start to spend a little bit more money, and they continue to spend more money to adjust with their income. Because they think, oh, you know, I'm making an extra $10,000, I can probably afford to do this and go out a couple more times a week. Now, this is a really bad idea. Sometimes it's nice to go out and do nice things as you start to get a little bit older through your 20s. But when you're 20 years old, it's okay to live like you are broke, because you can take advantage of what I was saying before in regards to money being worth a lot more when you are younger. So lifestyle inflation is a really tough one, and it's something that should definitely keep a check on because it grows dramatically. And I know a lot of people even making $200,000, $300,000 a year that are living paycheck to paycheck because their lifestyle inflation is so crazy. Next one is a really important one, and I've seen so many people fall into this trap, and that is do not take out bad debt. And what do I mean by bad debt? So bad debt is basically something that you use to buy a depreciating asset. So in this case, I'm going to use a car as an example. It is a terrible idea to finance a car, because most people, when they finance a car, they're going to be financing a new car. And the problem with that is the second you drive that out of the dealership, then you're going to be losing 25% of the value of that car. And when you're trying to build wealth, that's quite a big step back. I know people that have completely obliterated themselves financially just by buying a new car and having the debt racked up and not having that repaid. So bad debts will be taking away from your wealth. So things like credit cards, paying the interest on that, and of course financing cars. you know, it's just not a great place to be. So if you can avoid financing and taking out bad debt, then that is going to put you in a much stronger place financially. The only time you want to be getting financing is if you're getting an asset that is going to appreciate in value over time and be paying you money. For example, a rental property. So one of the big aims that I think is really important in your 20s to be wealthy in your 30s is to replace your active income with passive income. And what I mean by that is that the passive income, the money that you have built up over time, which is now making you money, is actually working for you and paying for your expenses. And what that does is it basically allows you to live for free. So some examples of passive income streams would be like dividend stocks, such as AT&T. They pay a really good dividend. And if you have a decent sum of money invested in that, then you're going to be collecting money just for holding the stock. You know, some companies pay a 4%, 5% dividend, and if you have $1 million invested in one of these stocks, then you're going to be getting $40,000, $50,000 a year. Rental properties, real estate is of course another really good one. If you have a tenant in a real estate property that is paying rent, then you are collecting that money every single month. So another example is an automated, scalable online business. There's a lot of people that run these and have the entire supply chain automated so they don't really have to do much at all, and it continues to collect money for them. And of course, you have your Amazon affiliate links, which is another way of generating passive income where you don't actually have to go out and actively work. And of course, YouTube is another one, but I'd argue that you do put quite a bit into setting up YouTube and have to continually. So that's that. So a good example of a passive income stream in real estate would be, for example, to buy a duplex and you live in one side and you rent out the other side. And what that allows you to do is basically live for free. And that is a stream of income that is covering all of your expenses. Ideally, you want the passive income to pay for all of your expenses. Obviously, the higher your expenses are, the more money you are going to have invested. So I think if you do all of these things and you do it right over the course of 10 years or so, then you're going to set yourself up to be in a really strong position financially. So of course, a lot of this is easier said than done. It is going to require a lot of work from the ground up, so you need to be prepared for that. But I think the harder you can work early on, it's going to set you up and put you in a great position financially for the future, so you have the freedom to do more of the things that you want to do. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you found a lot of value in this video. I certainly had a lot of fun making it, so make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps to push the video out so more people get to see it and can learn these tips and tricks to being wealthy as they get a bit older and take advantage of that key part in your 20s in your life. So thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you later.